Okay, so I'm back in the lesson today, the Chofetz Chaim's Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan. So in the section that covers the lessons from the book Sefer Chofetz Chaim, this one is titled When the Subject Approves. Unlike statements that are derogatory, a non-derogatory but potentially harmful statement can be made about a person if it is clear that he does not object. If someone regularly talks about his inability to remember even his own phone number, it would not be forbidden for others to repeat that statement, provided that neither the speaker nor the listener thinks any less of the person on account of his poor memory. Certainly, if a person explicitly grants permission for others to disclose potentially harmful information about himself, they are permitted to do so, provided the information is not derogatory. Okay, in the margin it says, through Shmirat HaLashon, or guarding your speech, a Jew forever enhances the spiritual power of his words. Forever enhances the spiritual power of his words. I'm going to tell you a story at the end of this, but let's go here. Powerful words. The power of speech is the great tool with which man can build heaven and earth. As it is written, and I have placed my words in your mouth, to implant the heavens, to set a base for the earth. Yeshayahu 51:16. That's Isaiah 51:16. The prophet speaks in a most literal sense, for through the sacred words of Torah study and prayer that a Jew utters on this earth, exalted words and angels are created above. With regard to the latter, the Mishnah states, he who fulfills even a single mitzvah gains for himself a single advocate. This is Perkei Avot, or Avot 4:13. By advocate, the Mishnah means that these angels will intercede on the person's behalf before the heavenly throne. So this is where we get the idea, well, not where we get the idea, but this is part of the idea that for every mitzvah that you do, you will create an angel. For every avera that you do, you create a negative force. And they speak on your behalf, for you or against you, in the heavenly court. And they're also interact with this world in various ways. And there's lots of stories that demonstrate this. The level of sanctity of these words in angels is contingent upon two factors: the spiritual readiness of the person at the time he performed the mitzvah and the quality of the medium through which the mitzvah was performed. A person who avoids Lashon Hara and utilizes his power of speech in a positive way is forever enhancing the spiritual power of his words. Thus the Torah study and prayer which emanate from his lips are endowed with an exalted spiritual light. Conversely, if a person defiles his mouth with words of gossip, mockery, falsehood, and the like, with what sort of sanctity can his words of study and prayer be endowed? He is a craftsman who has severely damaged his indispensable tool. His only recourse is to mend his ways and refine his power of speech. So it's interesting. So we're talking about the power of words. Most people don't see this, but in the Torah portion that's dealing with Sarah and Abraham getting the blessing from the angels that they're going to have a child. Sarah, what does she say? She basically says, she outright says, no way, I'm too old. Abraham, on the other hand, he basically says to himself, he thinks to himself, like, can this really be? Like, I'm old too, but he doesn't outright say it with his words. Because Sarah said it with her words, she canceled that blessing, and the angel had to be blessed a second time. And in the Haftarah portion, for that Torah portion, is where we have the mother that has the dead child, and she has to run to the prophet, and two times somebody stops her and says, what's going on? Is everything all right? She says shalom. Shalom. She says shalom twice, right? And then when she gets to the prophet, she really tells him her problem, that her son's basically dead. And what happens? Because of the power of her mouth, the prophet had the ability to raise her son back to life. Not necessarily because of anything else, but the mother's words, right? A lot of times we credit this to the prophet. The prophet is the channel, but the mother with her words of saying shalom to the people that came before and questioned her, that is the power. That is part of the power that helped raise her child from the dead. Okay, so thanks for watching. Guard your speech, because it is one of the most powerful things we have. Is like, we live in a world. This is the world of Olam HaSheker, the world of lies. Everything that we see is a veil. Everything is a veil. We have to be able to see beyond and not be like, oh, well, that thing that came into my life, that's just, and you just like speak against it and stuff like that. Just calm down, be patient. We live in the world of lies. There's all sorts of things here to test us. So just stay the course, stay the path. Derech ha'emet.